So two Chicago rappers out of Old Block got shot. They saying they got shot outside of Old Block, y'all. They saying that they got shot outside of Old Block. You dig? Now, their condition right now is unknown. I don't know what their condition is, but there was what they labeling a mass shooting. They saying 5 people were wounded in a shooting in Parkway Gardens Monday morning. Chicago police said the shooting occurred while the victims were standing outside at about 12:13 a.m. in the 6500 block of South Martin Luther King Drive, police said. So this took place last night midnight. You dig? Last night midnight, these shootings took place. 5 people got hit. They are labeling this a mass shooting. You understand now? This was clearly the ops that ran down on Boss Top and Gina. All right, if that's how you say the other dude's name, I believe it is G Nuck, however you say it. All right. But the shooting took place 12:13 a.m., 6500 block South Martin Luther King Drive. All right. Out there in Chicago. Now, this is supposed to be outside of O Block. They claim it's supposed to be outside of O Block. Some people are saying it happened in O Block, but I believe this was outside of O Block. They were shot with 3 other people, so it was 5 people that got hit in total. The condition of these people remain anonymous because I haven't seen anybody, personally say condition of the people after the shooting took place. South Carolina says they shot a 10-year-old boy with them too. Shaking my head. Well, that's a damn shame that an innocent child is getting hit, but the child could have also been a gang member as well. However, it's still nasty. That's how Chicago's a savage environment, bro. They don't care who they hit at the end of the day. They don't care who they hit at the end of the day, and that's the messed up part. A 10-year-old child also getting struck in the process, which is insane. You understand? But this is nasty, y'all. This is nasty. Another Chicago incident. You know what I'm saying? Nasty. They've had a lot of murders, man. A lot of people have been. Well, I don't know if these people are all dead or not because I don't know their conditions. But um, if anything, there's been a lot of shootings in Chicago as of late. A lot of shootings. Hell of a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? Devin Harris says, Happy 4th of July to the Sniper Gang. Salute, champ. Stay safe out there. Salute to you, champ. Stay safe out here, but also stay dangerous. Because you never know, man. Why is a 10-year-old, why is a 10-year-old outside in O Block at midnight? Nigga, it's Chicago. You gotta understand where you at, bro. Chicago is Chicago, bro. Especially the hoods of Chicago, man. The hoods of Chicago is not a game, champ. The Chicago is how Chicago is, man. It's a never-ending cycle. I've known people in Chicago for years, over decades, and bro, they used to tell me the craziest shit. And when I'm seeing it now, literally seeing it in the news and everything, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I gotta say, Chicago has to be literally the most savage city in the United States of America, bro. I'm gonna keep it a G with you. Stupid ass Captain Jack Steven Jackson had his sleuth foot ass over there for a photo op clout chasing. The nigga Steven Jackson might have got his foolish ass gunned down himself going out there, man. I ain't gonna hold you. You shouldn't have really been out there. There was no reason for you to be out there. I don't know why niggas think it's cute to just go out there. Oh, well, I ain't got nobody with me. You know what I'm saying? It's not safe out there. It's not a safe place to be. It's never safe out there, man. Chicago has, as of this holiday weekend, 57 shootings and 7 dead over the past 3 days. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Did I tell you? I told you about them hot summers, didn't I? Damn, I don't even know how to say your name. But I'm gonna say it. Fio. Damn. Fiosami. I'm gonna try to say your name, my dear. If I mess it up, I'm sorry. But she says, really sad that this young generation can't even go out like we used to when we were young. There's shootings out every day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in every large city across the nation. Well, you know what? I'm gonna place blame on the drill music. You know what I'm saying? Because drill music has definitely played its part in doing a lot of damage to society. You know what I'm saying? The drill music has definitely influenced a lot of these young kids to go out here and do damage, man. I'm not gonna hold you, man. You dig? I'm not gonna hold you, man. It's getting nasty. At this rate, they could dig their own holes to jump in. Hot summer, let's go. I'm not hyped for a hot summer. I am hyped for certain individuals to get dealt with, however. Certain individuals deserve whatever they getting, but a 10-year-old should not be getting shot out here, respectfully. Ain't the big homie said once Stack 5 went out there claiming he checking in the real ones, he just put an even bigger target on Old Block. He disrespected the other hoods by doing that. That's a good point, champ. I think that was a very ignorant move on his part. I'm gonna keep it a G. Cause now he got to looking crazy out there, man. Cause now he got to looking real nasty out there. So I don't know why he would step foot out there knowing how Chicago is.
We believe the suspect is in custody, being held here at the Highland Park Police Department. We hadn't seen him come in. We've been waiting, watching police vehicles come and go, but we believe he was brought in just minutes after being taken into custody, about 5 miles north of here, around 6:30 this evening. There are a number of people from Highland Park, a number of residents coming out here tonight. They are looking to see for themselves the man behind the madness. We're learning a lot more information about that suspect, Bobby Crino III, including an exclusive interview we conducted earlier this evening with his uncle. Cremo was unemployed, had been living in a house in Highwood with his father and his uncle. This evening there were multiple FBI agents and law enforcement officers in tactical gear around that house, some interviewing neighbors. According to his uncle, Cremo had lived in his own basement unit in that duplex, making videos that he posted to social media and working to build a career as a rapper. His uncle tells me Cremo had never made any threats or alarming statements, at least to family members, indicating that he might be planning or considering a mass shooting. And his uncle tells me, as far as he knew, Cremo did not own a gun. Cremo comes from a prominent Highland Park family. His dad, Robert II, owned some food pantries in town, ran for mayor here a few years ago, a race that he lost to Highland Park's current mayor. This evening, the suspect's uncle, Paul Cremo, reached out to us to talk about the tragedy and to send a message to the community.
I just want to say I'm deeply, deeply sorry for everyone that lost their lives and got injured. From the bottom of my heart, I'm heartbroken, and my heart is shattered to hear this, and I can't even believe it, and I just want to express my deeply sorry and my condolences to everybody. Me and my brother were very well known in Virginia, Highland Park, and we have a good character. Everybody loves us, and this is just, it breaks my heart to even hear about all this.
And as we continue to dig into insight as to what caused this shooting, we also talked today to the father of some high school students who were classmates of Cremo's at Highland Park High School. They say he was basically a loner in school, though he did take part in the Highland Park High School rap club.
I don't know much about him except for he was a rapper. He joined the rapper club at Highland Park High School. After his freshman year, he was kind of by himself. Did things by himself. A loner, I don't know what the term is. His dad, by the way, is a very nice guy. Very nice guy.
As we mentioned before, the suspect's uncle did confirm that Cremo had made a number of videos, rap videos. He was doing that in the home in Highwood. There are several social media accounts connected to that name showing rap videos, some of them very violent, showing blood and bullets. We don't want to put those on the air. They do apparently are linked to the suspect in this case. We do want to completely confirm that those were his, though, before we put any of that material on the air. We do want to be sensitive about putting it on the air as well. Again, Cremo believed to be being held here at the Highland Park Police Department right now.
They are labeling this a mass shooting. You understand now? This was clearly the ops that rained down on Boss Top and Gino.
Welcome. Hit the like button. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell. Share the show. Thank you for listening. This is Joey. Let's get started. Actually, before we get started, I want to give you all a heartfelt thank you for listening to my show, for sharing the show, for commenting, for getting involved. You know, even if I don't agree with you, even if you're a person that's in the comment sections telling me I'm a dumbacata, I appreciate you taking the time to do that, because there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of channels that you could be listening to or doing something differently entirely, but you chose the time to look up my little channel and sit through what is on average an hour and a half show, sometimes 2 hours. And because of that, you guys have created, or you guys have contributed to creating a channel that has one of the more unique algorithms out there. There's a certain amount of followers and a certain amount of watch time hours that you have to have in order to become legitimized on YouTube, on these YouTube streets. And what you guys have created is one of the smallest fan bases on YouTube that's already pretty much caught up with the required watch time hours. I'm nowhere near 1,000 followers, but I'm well within the grasp of 4,000 watch time hours. And that means you guys are really sitting down and listening and absorbing this stuff, which means I got an obligation to make sure that my game's tight with the content that I provide you. And I really, really like that pressure. So again, thank you for listening. I really mean that when I say it. Share the show. I really mean that. You guys are doing a great job of that. And it's showing that there's a growing, healthy appetite for black politics. And that's my goal. So without any further ado, let's get right into today's show. I wanted to make a separate show about this because this bears some focus. Things happen so fast, there's no time to really absorb them anymore. And that lets media get away with some screw ups. Now, new media is much more evolved and much more equipped to deal with today's fast-paced information seekers on the internet. But new media is not without its own faults. One of the faults of new media that was more apparent with old media as it began to have to deal with the stresses of this is dealing with information as it happens, dealing with events as new information flies through the system in live time, right? With old media, you showing up, setting up shop with cameras and putting a news reporter at the scene only to reveal that you got parts of the story wrong later on and having to go back and revise the story or make edits in a newspaper. Those really show the weaknesses of old media. However, with new media, you are able to so seamlessly make corrections that people will forget how you made them feel at the time with the information that you had. Let's use this Hyde Park shooting as an example. And before I get into it, I want to share with you guys a little bit of what's happened to me recently. A few weeks ago, I was at an American chain restaurant enjoying some high fructose corn syrup food, right? With a date. Or at least I was going to. Now, this area As y'all know, I live in Seattle, and Seattle's very white and very Asian. But there are Negroes and Hispanics and Samoans in small amounts, right? So I'm at this event, and there's black people, there's white people, there's Asian people, there's Hispanic people, there's Samoan people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But everybody happens to be from a certain economic grouping. These are all like middle class, working middle class people. There's people there with their kids. There's people there with their girlfriends and their wives. Just picture like a TGI Fridays or something. Just a regular weekend event where people are there to let a load off, right? But in the lobby and off in the corner, I can tell there's some sort of a birthday party happening, some sort of a gathering happening with a group of people that appear to be family. And it appears to be two families because there's people with different features, distinctively different features. Same race, but these are hood black people. These is black folks that look like they come from a certain background. And there's a lot of aggression, and there's all the familiar signs of some hood shit going down. There's some hoochie mamas dressed real scantily clad for a family event. There's a clear, distinct smell of some weed in the air. A lot of tattoos on forearms. You know what I'm saying? But nobody's judging. But I can feel a buzz around that area and in the lobby, and it don't feel like a positive one. To be honest, it feels like maybe some members of that group are coming that don't get along with the rest of the family. Whatever it is, there's animosity in the air. So I'm keeping one eye open. One eye on my date, one eye on this situation. I'm doing all the telltale things you do when you're kind of feeling some problems are in the air, right? I'm looking to see where the nearest exit's at. All right. A few minutes go by. I hear more yelling, more discussion, and more signs that there's going to be a problem. There's girls getting up. Oh my God. Glasses moving and shit. And I'm noticing that all the black people, all the young black people, all the young Hispanics, all the young Samoans are getting up to see what's going on in the lobby. The white folks and the Asians is still doing what they do. It's just like the internet, where something will be affecting one group of people and you look on the other group of people and they're completely non-involved, right? You'll look on black Twitter, it'll be riots and some nigga just got shot by the police and we standing up for justice. And you'll look on white Twitter and they trading cat pictures because it hasn't hit them yet, right? Hasn't affected them yet. Now watch this. As I make my way to the lobby, I see two niggas fighting. And not only do I see two niggas fighting, I see one nigga reaching for the waist of the other nigga while the other niggas fended him off. Translation, somebody's reaching for their gun. It's officially time to go, right? It's time to get on up out of there. And all the black folks, all the ethnic people tend to agree with me because they're all getting the hell up out of Dodge too, right? Even the workers that are working at this spot are saying, let's get out of here. He's got a gun. Everybody single file the hell out of all the exits, right? I get my date and her daughter up out of there. I look around. I see a scene of chaos where there's people rushing other people's kids up out the spot and all this kind of stuff. So as a man, I'm trying to help out, right? You know, women and children first. But I'm noticing that despite all this chaos, like I said, the white folks are still sitting down, eating their sandwiches and talking about, you know, Mad About You episodes and shit, right? Until the first couple of shots go off. Now, the first couple of shots go off. It's a whole scene from Belly in this restaurant. The first couple of shots go off, and while niggas is doing nigga gun avoidance protocol, meaning we know these niggas could be shooting anywhere, bullets ain't got no names, it's time to peep the scene and dip, right? While niggas is leaving, the white folks now have just been alerted that there's a problem. But the white folks aren't thinking, oh God, gangbangers are coming shooting up this restaurant. The white folks start yelling, mass shooter. And this instantly sends a real panic throughout the rest of the restaurant because now all the white folks in the restaurant are thinking that there's a mass shooter in the restaurant. Now, whereas niggas got into nigga gun avoidance protocol, meaning let's get the hell up out of here, but still look around and see what's going on, right? Because that's how we do. White folks had begun getting under their tables, covering their heads, and praying. Now, why do I share all this with you? And I'm leaving one thing out. Once it got revealed to these white folks that it was some black folks shooting each other, the overwhelming feeling from all of them white folks, including the police that showed up afterwards, the overwhelming feeling from all of these white folks who were just involved in a shooting was relief. Why relief? Because even white folks know that black folks shooting means it means a few things. Black folks shooting means, one, odds are we're trying to get another nigga. Right? We're not coming here to shoot random white folk. We're not coming here to shoot random people. We're coming here to shoot the nigga we saw. Now, if we happen to hit random people, it's not intentional, right? It's not intentional. These are street niggas, can't shoot for shit. They're at point blank range damn near. They're close enough where they can be grabbing each other and tussling. They're shooting. They hit some random white lady who was eating her pasta that wasn't paying attention. Shot her in the leg. She got airlifted out of there. She's fine. But as damaging and as chaotic and as potentially deadly and dangerous as that can be, it's a whole lot better. Not saying it's okay at all. But I shouldn't say better. It's a whole lot different of a scenario than some maniac coming to your restaurant with a rifle, going down each aisle, killing people execution style and leaving no survivors. That's a whole different scene. They put names on bullets. So when they realized it was just a couple of niggas tussling, and by the time the shooting had happened, the niggas had already ran and got in their cars and drove off, and they were relieved. And I say all that to say this. See, white folks used to always laugh and tell black folks and dismiss black folks' claims of racism and mistreatment by saying, as a black person in America, your biggest threat to kill you is another black person. What about black on black crime? Focus on within, nigger, right? Well, now we've reached a point in whiteness where, as a reaction, as a reflection, white folks are now more afraid of the idea of other white folks than they are of black people. White people are clutching their pearls at young white people, at old white people. See, it's hard. See, even with black people, white folks that have racist views or stereotypical views towards black people, you know it wouldn't be a Joey T podcast without an airplane overhead, you know. It sounds like it's a whole 747 Dreamliner. Anyway, when white folks that have a healthy or unhealthy fear of black people, it's usually a certain type of black person. And this isn't to excuse it. It's to show you that they know which black person that they've stereotyped into being the scary black. It's not going to be some old black man with paper grocery bags or some old black lady. It's going to be some young black dude in a hoodie. It's going to be some young black youth that they have a healthy or unhealthy fear for. So that allows you to kind of have your guard down to some degree for a profile of a certain type of black person. But with these mass shooters, it can literally be any kind of white person. There's no distinguishing tattoos or haircuts or hats that they wear that show any affiliation with anything. They could be your mailman, your doctor, your lawyer. They could be a well-to-do white person, a quiet, unassuming white person that just walks into an Ivor's or walks into a grocery store, which makes it impossible to prepare for because they have naturalized urban camouflage. Or at least that would be the story if these were normal acting people. But in reality, you can look at these folks and tell something's wrong with them. Look at the boy that shot up the church in South Carolina. They couldn't even find a normal picture of this kid not looking like a demon. But because you have racial bias to where you'll look at that crazy ass kid and go, he looks fine with me. But you'll look at some black kid with a hoodie and a pack of Skittles and decide to pursue. That shows what type of time y'all on. And see, now it's starting to come back on you. You've allowed these crazy ass kids to be crazy kids because they've been exploiting the system to express their craziness on us. And y'all have been cool with that. Look how fast that Buffalo shooting, look how fast that went through the news cycle. And now look at this Uvalde shooting. And now look at this latest shooting that I want to go to, which is Hyde Park in Chicago, Illinois. Now, I want you to notice something. Like I said at the top of the show, how the entire narrative was going in one direction. See, because the media moves so fast now, we don't notice it. Let's revisit something. I want you to go back and think about a few days ago, 4th of July, when this shooting was fresh and what they call in the media developing, which means that we know something happened, but we're just learning all the details. It's a developing story, right? We don't know yet. Now, when the Hyde Park shooting was a developing story, the narrative, when you're still in a developing story, you can only build a narrative off of the little bit that you know. And you run the risk of building the narrative too early, because when new information comes in, you might have to change the narrative. Now, I want to point something out. I want you guys to all notice something that they did and that we even did, because we're so well trained as Negroes that we'll do it for white folks. When you first heard the words shooting and the word Chicago, what popped in your head? What popped in everybody's head? Those niggers are at it again. These niggers are out of control. And worst yet, they've ruined some parade, right? They had an image in your head. The same thing that they try to do for Juneteenth. There's 40 million plus black folks across this country. Sea to shining sea. Every state you can imagine. But if one violent event happens at one party on Juneteenth anywhere in America involving black folks, black people are having a riot. And what's the protocol when one black person does anything, anywhere? All black people go to trial. All black people get put on trial. We're so used to it and we're so conditioned for it. We do it ourselves. We got to do better, y'all. We got to do better. Like, nigga, it's a nigga somewhere in the country. Why are we all taking the L for this dude who did something wrong? Why do we notice when black people do something wrong, instantly the blame becomes the entire black society and all black culture? Let's get back to Hyde Park. When you were told there was a shooting in Chicago, it was heavily implied by the media and overtly stated by some of you niggas online, without any facts, without any knowledge of the area. Because anybody who actually knows Chicago or any city knows that there's a white side and a black side. There's the Chicago White Sox side, that's the nigga side, and there's the Chicago Cubs side, that's the white side of Chicago. But people heard the word shooting in Chicago and instantly started thinking, oh God, it's FBG ducking them boys or something like that. You guys got every Chiracian wet dream in your head because you've never been there, you don't know the people, and you only know what you see on DJ Vlad interviews. So people instantly started going into their black on black crime protocol. Oh, this senseless shooting has got to stop. Oh, I can't believe y'all niggas done did it again. When are we gonna stop acting like this to each other? I blame drill music. I seen some of you niggas with videos blaming drill music. Y'all had all kinds of, the Democratic Party was already talking about assault bans and all this kind of shit. And this culture, but I want you to notice, the thing that keeps getting blamed whenever a black person does something, when a black person commits a crime like that, we as a society are willing to look at the culture as the culprit. We're willing to go, maybe there's not one particular influencer that's getting people to behave like this, but it's just got to be a continuation of the culture. There's something in this culture that glorifies violence and disrespect of women and disrespect of each other and lack of education that results in this kind of behavior. We need to look within ourselves and figure out what we're doing and promoting that, oh, wait, the shooter's white. It's a white guy that shot up a bunch of white people, thus white on white crime? Huh. You notice that? You notice when the killer was presumed to be a black dude, because it was the word shooting and the word Chicago, and they've done such a good job with making violence in Chicago synonymous with niggers, right? They've made you think that Chicago is just a completely unfettered wild land where there are no officers, there is no law. It's just, just completely wild, and you're on your own. There's niggers running up and down trees and shit, like velociraptors. No, there's plenty of police presence in Chicago. Chicago's huge, and not everybody in Chicago is black, and not all the crime is committed by black people. Newsflash, the more you know. But notice suddenly, instantaneously, all that it had to have changed was the killer going from a suspected black person to a suspected white person to a confirmed white person. And suddenly all your accusations of the culture being the culprit, they kind of trail off. They kind of go away. And the discussion for what's the root cause becomes mental health issues. The discussion for who's the root cause becomes easy access to firearms. The discussion for who's the culprit becomes the economy. It's never white culture. It's never Western society culture. It's never, hey, are these white folks so far gone mentally that they don't even know right from wrong anymore? You notice blame completely shifts from the culprit and from the society. But a minute ago, when you thought the blame was on some people that you even say have no control of their culture. See, this is the circle talk that I'm talking about. When you want to insult black Americans and not give us credit for our culture, you say you don't have a culture. You don't have your own culture. Your culture comes from white people. This is white American culture. But when the culture goes bad, when niggas is shooting each other, when niggas is selling drugs, when niggas is pimping prostitutes, all of a sudden it's our culture that's the problem. I've watched every single news outlet on old media and in new media change their tune about the narrative of this shooting the second that they found out that the killer is white. And mind you, the killer being white doesn't change anything. This dude was a rapper. This isn't some white militia member doing this for white power. This isn't some dude that was shooting up a bunch of black people at a grocery store with "here's your reparations" on his AR. This is a white boy. Well, he's an aspiring white boy. From his last name, he sounds like a spicy white. He might be a white Hispanic or, whatever. But he's a white boy for all intents and purposes. They brought him in alive, so they think he's white enough, right? This is a white boy with face tattoos and a rap career. He had a little following. He had a rap career. He's in the rack doing Chirac shit. All the behaviors of what you would assume would be a nigga. Face tattoos and shit, throwing up gang signs in his pictures. All the trappings of niggerdom. But he's a white dude. And suddenly, nigger protocol got frozen dead in its tracks. Y'all went from, y'all got to do better, and we got to, oh, he's white. Oh. Mental health is real, y'all. Because that's all you can say. That's all you're allowed to say. You're not allowed to blame their culture. That in and of itself proves that all that purse clutching and all that fake acting beside yourself about our culture and our behavior, it's all fake. Because once all I got to do is change just the color, not the behavior, not the demeanor, not the actions. All I got to do is change the skin color and the whole narrative change. Now all of a sudden it ain't a culture issue. You got white boys left and right. You got white boys committing crimes whose lives are so good and so without struggle that the lawyers can't even figure out why they would even do this shit and throw their easy ass lives away, that they had to invent a new mental illness called affluenza, which just means you're too affluent and your life is too good, so you don't even know right from wrong. They had to make up a new mental condition to give white folks more breathing room to commit crimes. You're not allowed to say, maybe it's something with the culture. You're not allowed to say that, even though that's what you was thinking a minute ago when you thought it was a nigger. And I'm not even talking about white publications and white content creators. I'm talking about you niggas. You niggas with your hip hop blogs and your blackity black topics. You niggas, you so-called black conservatives, you niggas was going on spiels about black culture and hip hop music and sagging pants. And the boy is white. The boy is white. And now you got to change that shit to "we shall overcome." Keep that same energy. What about that culture you were saying could only produce a behavior like this? See, white folks have gotten to the point now where white folks are fearful of other white people. White folks have realized there is white on white crime. White folks have had to deal with white on white crime for the last couple of years now. White folks got to worry about white folks mass shooting. You damn near be relieved. You see a nigga walking down the street with a hoodie and a Glock with an extendo. Oh, he's looking for the ops, honey. It's okay. He has no problem with us, right? But that white boy with that AR-15 and 500 rounds, he could be walking in the bank to kill everybody because his dad didn't hug him that day. Or his dad hugged him in a funny way. Or because it's Tuesday. It could be anything. The scariest people in the world are the people that you feed them and they'll still eat you. That's a wild animal. They're biting the hand that feeds them. because they're used to the food. This is all over the world. I've mentioned this before. Look at France. I told you guys this a while ago. I said you can tell when things are starting to fall off for the dominant society when they no longer show you what's happening around the world in their other colonies. White folks used to show you all the time, hey, look at France, look at Europe, look at this, look at that, look at how well these white folks are doing all over the world in an effort to remind you of white supremacy, of white superiority. Now, you can't look on American news and see what's going on in Australia. Australia's on fire. You can't just check and see what's going on with Europe and the United Kingdom and the European Union. It's on fire. Everybody's at war. Turmoil. Inflation. The money ain't adding up. And these are the white folks that older black folks normally throw in our face and go, why can't you do that? Why can't you do what? We're finally seeing what white people really look like. Y'all activators drying up. We see in your real hairline, your real fupa, we see what your feet really look like. We can see your bank account. White folks is struggling right now all over the world, struggling financially, struggling militarily, struggling to even have enough kids to even stay above replacement level all over the world. All over there's not a single white country, not a single white colony. We got to keep this stuff in the right perspective. Not a single white colony in the world that's keeping up. They're falling apart. They're getting exposed. I was pointing out before, if you look at France right now, what little they'll show you of France. France got riots out the ass. France got riots like George Floyd every day. But it's not about justice. It's about they are on a social program, social welfare. They're socialist. But where does their money come from for their socialism? It came from stealing from 14 African countries. And now that well is drying up, what little money they got left over, they're fighting over. They can't pay all those public workers. They can't pay for that universal health care. They can't pay for none of that shit because all that shit was sponsored by stealing African countries' wealth. And because of that, you're starting to see real white folks. They're starting to fall apart. All this time, see, the thing about illusions can be more powerful than reality. Illusions can have more effect on your life than reality. But the thing about illusions, as opposed to the truth, as opposed to the natural state of things, is there's effort that's required to maintain an illusion. And the second that thing is no longer there, it puts forth that effort to maintain that illusion, the illusion's gone. America occupied Afghanistan for like 18 years. Had a puppet government in there running things, working with the snitches who cooperated with us, all that shit. But the second America could no longer put effort into maintaining that state in Afghanistan, it fell. It fell within days. It went back to its natural default state. Illusions, artificial things, they take effort to maintain. It's like a dam holding back a river. It's like flexing a muscle. No matter how hard you flex that shit, eventually you're going to have to let go and go back to your default at-rest state. And white folks, you've had a good run. You've had a really good run, but it's over. And now it's about managing. Now it's about managing the end times. And the question is, are white people going to be so bitter that it's over that they're going to reset the Xbox on the way out. Which is why I find it funny that they're calling this new era the Great Reset. If you've ever played video games with your little brother or your little cousin, you're playing some Madden, you're playing some Mortal Kombat, and you whooping his ass, and right before you hit that coup de grace, right before that finish him, and you about to hit that toasty with Scorpion and light that nigga's life up, he rage quits and resets the game. Now, he knows he's still lost. We all seen him losing. But in his mind, pressing that reset button undoes that ass whooping. It's just a sucker thing to do from someone throwing a temper tantrum. Now, what do you think white folks is going to do? They realizing that this land is your land part of the this land is your land, this land is my land song is about to start getting louder in a minute, right? They're losing their country. They're losing their colonies all over the world. They're losing their existence. See, this is the real reason why a lot of white folks are going off. Think about it. Most of these mass shooters that go off, that go crazy, what's the difference between the Buffalo shooting and this one? What's the difference between the Buffalo shooting and the Las Vegas shooting that shot 500 people that they don't like to talk about no more? What's the difference between this shooting and the Michigan shooting from not too long ago? See, the Buffalo shooting was a white guy shooting up a bunch of black folks because of fear of great replacement. But all these other shootings are white folks shooting white folks. These are white folks killing white folks. Now, if I just told you that all across the world, you're not reaching replacement level and you're in great decline, you shooting other white folks is like you breaking a bunch of Fabergé eggs. It's like you eating a bunch of expensive truffles at this point. You're depleting your diminished resources at this point. You know how hard it's going to be to replace all those white folks you're killing? They're resetting their own Xbox. They know the inevitable's coming. There's a lot of them that fear revenge. And they don't know how to get out of it. You see, I misread something Joe Biden had said. I had reported it a few times, like he was saying there's a problem with the nation no longer being majority white. It's going to hell in a handbasket. But after listening to it a few more times in context, he was saying this country is going to hell in a handbasket because it's no longer going to be majority white, and we haven't worked out this racial issue yet. There's a fear of once these numbers turn around, it's going to be get back season on white folks. And white people are very, very, very much afraid of that. Understandably so. If I had been stepping on niggas' necks for centuries, talking big shit and making people's life a living hell, and then all of a sudden one day I don't got the numbers no more, I'm knowing what's coming. Get back season. But see, this get back season isn't coming from black folks. You don't have any incidents. Like, think about it. There's 40 million black people. There's hundreds of millions of people in America. The news you watch is the most sensationalized top line stories from all over the country. And you haven't heard of a single incident of black folks running up and randomly killing white folks in large groups like that.
Niggas don't even do that with niggas. The closest we got to something like that is drive-by. And like I said earlier, when black folks is on a rampage to kill some black folks, we aiming at niggas we aiming at. Whether or not we hit them is a different story. But we don't really go into situations going, let's just shoot into the crowd indiscriminately and I hope I hit some women and children. There's a whole list of consequences and repercussions that comes with that in the black world. You can get arrested. There's niggas that are going to get you back. Them victims got families. All sorts of shit. But see, white folks are moving differently. They don't care about none of that shit. See, this is why it was such a big deal when that black guy drove down the wrong street and hit those white folks in that parade, and they tried to make it seem like it was some kind of race issue. Really, I think it was trying to get away from the police. They arrested him. He was all confused and dazed and shit. They tried to make that into that, to make us like them, to justify them pursuing and getting revenge and all this kind of bullshit. They were assuming we're like them. Niggas wasn't even on that. The average white person walking around in America today has a fear of another white person, not of niggers. They got a fear of another white person. You know why? Here's why. I'm going to tell you the big secret why. As much as the average white person tries to pretend like niggers are a nuisance, if you really, really corner them and really ask them, with the exception of a few major cities, but even those, the government has assisted white folks in dealing with the Negro nuisance. In many cases, and this is a statistical fact, most white folks don't even interact with black people in their everyday lives. You might get a black Uber driver, but he's probably going to be from Africa. You might have a black person working at your Starbucks. But in most cases, white folks can live an entire life having never really interacted with a nigger. You might have some niggas walking by your car, and you can just stay in your car, keep it locked, and they won't touch your Audi. But if you're a black person and you really want to do anything in life, you know, like have a job, buy a house, get a car, walk around, you can't avoid interacting with white folks. You will get pulled over by white folks. You'll end up moving next to white folks. You'll end up working for white folks. So black people have to kind of have white people in their life. But most white folks, not only do you not really interact with black folks, but black people don't have an effect on your everyday life. It's very rare for some white person to be thinking, gee, I hope Jaquan hires me. Right? You're not depending on niggas for jobs, depending on niggas for housing, depending on niggas for you're not depending on niggas for resources for shit. You don't live in areas flooded by niggas. You know, the only time white folks get crowded in by black folks is when they hear the words affordable housing coming. They're like, oh no, here come these, they're gonna force some niggas on us. That's it. But white folks know that they can't avoid other white folks. White folks know there's no way to make a white person suspicious. See, it's real easy to be protected from black folks. Hey, if you see anything suspicious, and second you see a nigga, suspicion, right? Right? Couldn't no black person sneak in your parade and start firing up on a roof? Wouldn't no nigga get rooftop access? We'll put it like that. Wouldn't no nigga get rooftop access to shit during no white parade? White folks know that white folks, by nature of being white, it's an ultimate pass to everywhere. So white folks can walk into places with their guns on them, I'm not talking about their pistol for self-protection. I'm talking about walking into places with AR-9s and AR-15s with folding stocks and shit. White folks don't get checked and searched for shit like black folks do. The dude that shot up Las Vegas, that dude had like 4 or 5 bags with like high-powered rifles in them, walked right into the hotel. They didn't check shit. White folks walked right into the White House. Walked right into those congressional buildings on January 6th. People act like they broke in and broke barricades. No, police walked them right in and held the door open for them, moved the velvet rope. They're white. It looked like they were on tour. They were walking through, taking pictures and shit. They're white. And white folks know that. Regular white folks know, oh shit, these people are going to be completely above the law and get away with all of this shit. White folks are fearing white folks right now. White folks are at war with white folks right now. Look all over the world. If I just told you that every white colony, every white nation is below replacement level, if every white nation is below replacement level, and pretty much every white nation is at war with another white nation right now, what's that tell you as far as depleting numbers? You think those numbers are going to go up or they're going to go down? Look at white folks right now. And what I want you to look at when you see them, especially in Europe, is this is the natural state of white folks. This is what they really look like. So whenever you hear niggas talking about, look at how the Europeans get along and how come the African Union can't move like the European Union, and you see how they are, white folks don't fight like black folks do. Bullshit. This is what cracks me up about how niggas judge niggas and how niggas judge white folks. Niggas will shake their head at Crips and Bloods fighting and say white folks don't fight while white folks is having World War II. World War. White folks will get into battles so big that the world got to jump in, right? Everybody got to jump in and break it up. And then after the war is over and millions of people are dead and nuclear bombs done went off and whole maps done been rearranged, niggas will say, see, white folks don't fight. The thing that has stopped white folks in Europe from having large scale, continental scale war is the fact that they've been subdued and pacified by stealing everybody's resources. Countries go to war when they need resources. I'm Germany. I need oil. Oh, you Ukraine? You got oil? I'm gonna take some of your oil. Oh, what? Russia's getting in it? Okay, you want some too? We're all fighting. Ooh, France needs. That's why they were at war. But when they all decided we're going to collectively, like the New Day Co-op from The Wire, we're going to collectively start stealing all these resources from Africa, and then we can split them how we split them when we get here. Germany, you can get the oil. France, you can get the cobalt. America, you can get the diamonds, et cetera, et cetera. That's what brought them peace. Peace through your exploitation. But now that China's coming in and messing that up, and there's a new order, China's saying you got to buy the dope from us now. By the way, we're rocking with Russia. The rest of you niggas get it how you live. We're right back at war like it's 1942. Right back like it's 1947. And you niggas are seeing all of Europe on fire. You're seeing every European colony falling off, falling into war times, falling into riots and chaos and crime. Look at white folks right now. Look at all the homeless white folks you see running around on drugs and crazy. You can't tell me America's not ghetto now. Like you don't go to your favorite coffee spots and go to your stores and go to your restaurants and half the time they're closed in the middle of the day. Customer service agents got funky attitudes because this person's a scab. This person didn't work there 3 weeks ago. They got hired on. You know what I'm saying? They're understaffed. They got an attitude. All that happy, spiffy, how may I serve you shit is gone. Everything's closed all day. Services are messed up. You see people driving around with cars now with damage on them because they can't get the parts for their cars. Gas prices, $7. Every time I go to the gas station now, I see white folks, not niggas in the ghetto doing ghetto tacky shit. White folks, well-to-do white folks that y'all act like are supposed to be the pillars of society, right? White folks at the gas station filling up red gas cans in case their white people cars cut off while they're on the way to work. White folks filling up their cars and filling up their red gas cans because they can't afford to put a full tank in that bitch. White folks driving up to the AMPMs saying, let me get 25 on pump number 3. And gas is $6.95. That ain't no full tank. You're starting to see their real nail beds. You're starting to see their real hairlines. This shit's stressing them out, and it's making them... You know how you know it's bad? You know how you know it's bad, white folks? Whenever something embarrassing happens to the country, there's a mass shooting, or something racist goes down, or a cop kills some black person, or the economy tanks, or some shit happens, some white woman somewhere with a teary-eyed voice will normally shout, "This is not America." And that's an attempt at a social band-aid. You done seen some shit that's totally American, that happens all the time, that's completely commonplace, but you know it's not right to look at for the world to see. So you're trying to tell the world like, no, this isn't America. We don't normally do this. Yeah, we do. It's like somebody coming over to your house and your house is junky, or someone's getting a ride in your car unexpectedly and your car got a bunch of junk in it. And you tell, yeah, I don't normally have my car like this. I was just working on something today. No, yeah, you do, nigga. It's how your car look every day. That's why it's like this today. You live in your car, nigga. Quit lying. But you notice you don't even hear white folks say this is not America no more when something happened. This is totally America now. It is what it is. But you notice nobody points out the culture. Nobody points out the culture. You have had mass shooting after mass shooting after mass fucking shooting these last couple of months. And when these things happen, the same portions of the story comes out. The person had just turned 18. The person had obtained their firearms legally. The person had given every kind of warning that you could give through social media that they're probably going to do something dangerous with those guns. And yet somehow this person was allowed to do what they had been saying they were going to do the entire time. Once again, just like Uvalde, the person of interest has connections with local law enforcement. Once again, these efficient police officers become Keystone cops. Now, at some point, you got to ask yourself, what are the coincidences that this shit keeps happening right in front of police and the police magically can't do shit? And the killers magically always get brought in alive. You see, as white people, not black people, white people are getting frustrated because at the same time they got to deal with yet another white mass shooter that's shooting up them. It's killing them. They also got to take the heat for their police forces shooting a black guy over 60 times for thinking that he had a gun. Not having a gun during the time that you shot him. Not provably having a gun that he fired at you guys. There's no way that he could shoot a gun at you guys, get shot 60 times, and in the midst of that, somehow find the ability to put the gun back in the glove compartment in his car where you found it. The police are getting so lazy now, they don't even sprinkle the crack on you and plant the evidence gun in your hand after they kill you anymore. They're just like, he might have had a gun. Like, no. Just because someone is a registered firearm owner doesn't mean you can open fire and kill him. And let's just say he did have a gun, right? You know who for sure had a gun and was using the shit to kill innocent kids? Was the shooter in Uvalde. That guy guaranteed had a gun. There was no question as to whether or not he may have been brandishing a firearm. It was for sure a fact that that man had a gun. And y'all didn't do shit. Y'all was armed to the teeth. Y'all had vests on. And you're caught on camera saying, we don't want to get shot. So this has nothing to do with we thought he had a gun. It never has. And even white folks are starting to see that now. Because you know why? At least you're not a nigger is no longer enough for white folks. That used to be the consolation prize for white folks that were just regular, that didn't have any money, that weren't getting anything real tangible out of the system, was, hey, at least you're not a nigger. We're doing these displays of mistreatment to black folks to show you, because you don't get treated like that, we're showing you that you're of a higher status. Even if you're a lowly white person, you're still a white person. Look, we're not dragging you out of your car like this. White power. But that doesn't really work for you if those same police won't do shit about the white guy. Remember, you're a white person. But the person that's having the biggest, most negative effect on your everyday life is another white guy who, by policy, they can't arrest. They can't do nothing about. They got to wait until the guy that's shooting up your school with your kids inside becomes black enough for them to pursue. Now, how does that help you as a white person? When there's a white guy in your kid's school shooting up your school and they can't do nothing to him because he's a white guy. When there's a white guy attacking you and they can't do anything because it's another white guy. How does that help you as a white person if, like I said earlier, the biggest thing you have to fear nowadays is another white person, and the police don't have a policy for that? And worse still, these same police who are cowardly lions when it's a white boy with an AR, now all of a sudden you become the roaming firing squad when it's a nigga with a cell phone. people can put two and two together. What about your culture produces this result? You were ready to blame drill music when it was niggas. Is it country western music now that it's white folks? Is it K-pop? We can't keep pretending. See, this is the part that cracks me up, how people will say, there is no racism, and then the second that they can't explain this type of behavior, they default right to race. The second that they, let's see, there's a mass shooter. Are we going to pursue him? Is he black? No, we're going to let him go. Even white folks are starting to see the pattern now. But you have a complete and total protocol based entirely on race. But this one wasn't really a white episode. I wanted to focus this on black folks. Black folks, how you niggas heard Chicago and you heard shooting. As a matter of fact, don't quote me, I think two known niggas from a gang in Chicago got caught up in that mass shooting. And guess what? They were completely innocent. They weren't even gangbanging that day. They were just at a parade. What part of Western culture catches the blame for these actions like how you were all ready to blame hip hop?
You notice that? And let's define a mass shooting, because one of the first things that you're going to run into as a problem with white folks when you start to try to point out their culture or point out something is they'll jump around and toy with the definition of something, right? They always exist within the ambiguity. You know what I mean? They'll start to conflate mass shootings with gang and inner city shootings and crimes and drive-bys and shootings where more than one person got shot. Let's talk about what we, white, black, and every color, every culture, define as a mass goddamn shooting, right? It's somebody shooting at a bunch of people who he don't know, don't got a problem with, and they don't know him. He's just some person shooting at random. He don't got any kind of other crime he was involved at in the time. There's no provocation. And a whole lot of people get shot. Matter of fact, I'll go as far as to say you don't need to shoot one or more people in order for it to be a mass shooting. That's the distinction I want to make. It's anybody who's intentionally shooting in public to harm people and to scare the shit out of people with no other crime in mind, no other motive in mind, and usually don't even know the victim. Why am I making the bar so low as far as number? Because you can shoot one person that you don't know. There's been cases where people got sniper rifles and they just shoot one person because they're crazy. They got no problems with that person. They just want to kill somebody. Exact same impact as somebody shooting 30 people. You don't know these people, but you're just going off, shooting the shit out of folks just because. So that's the criteria. Somebody shooting one or more people who they don't know while not in act of any other act of crime at the time. So that eliminates all bullshit right there. We're not talking about someone who was robbing somebody and shot somebody. Somebody who was trying to find a getaway car and in the midst of trying to find a getaway car, shot somebody. Somebody who, I remember there was a young black boy who was in school getting picked on by a gang, and he went home, got his gun, and popped their ass. I think it was in Texas. He shot more than one person. That wasn't he shot a mass of people, but it wasn't a mass shooting. Mass shooting, active shooting aren't really good definitions of the word or of the phrase or of the situation. It doesn't really properly describe. It's as generic and as bland and as open as officer involved shooting. Like I said before, that sounds like the cop was just around when the shooting happened. Sounds like the cop might have got shot. It's very ambiguous. It's very open to interpretation. It doesn't paint a vivid, clear picture in your mind when you hear officer involved shooting, or when you hear mass shooter, or when you hear active shooter. It doesn't properly describe what it's trying to paint to you. And it implies certain things. The proper phrase would be terrorist shooter. Because this person, the one common theme in all this is that this person is shooting with the intent of terror. Like I said, they're not involved in any other crime of which shooting someone is a part of. It's not an act of revenge. It's not over money. It's not over a motive. I'm not shooting this person because this person did something, or I thought this person did something, or this person's perceived to have done something. It's shooting a bunch of people or at a bunch of people or a person with the intent of terrorizing everybody else. That's the one common theme. In many cases, these mass shooters even leave manifestos backing up everything I'm saying. They'll have one political view or another, and they're doing that as a demonstration. Some of them claim that they're suicidal and genocidal. They're still trying to terrorize everybody. The proper term would be something more akin to terrorist shooter. Now, here we go back to the Western culture question, because we were all ready to blame black culture when we thought it was niggas. But what demographic? You see, people love to try to find ways to justify why they profile black people so much. And they talk about natural black criminality. Some of them try to take a more fake, humane approach and say, well, due to their circumstances, they're just more prone to criminality. Of this particular crime, no matter how much you Dalshim Street Fighter 2 yoga stretch this shit out, white boys always come in number one, far and away. And weirder still, because again, I'm just trying to find consistency. I'm just trying to find a commonality. I'm just trying to find a theme in the data. And the commonality is amongst this particular type of crime, amongst this particular type of terrorism, white boys far and away come in number one. Young white boys in particular. Weirder still, we're talking young white boys all across the economic scale here. The shooter in Uvalde barely had $1 to his name, but stacked up $10,000 worth of credit card debt on his 18th birthday, apparently. The shooter in Highland Park is a rich boy with connections up into through politics in Chicago. So the only theme is just young white boys. Now here's something funny. When young black boys, young black girls, young black kids get caught doing anything, anything of note that catches a buzz, black people's websites, black people's chatter, black people's activity online is monitored 24/7. But in most of these cases, while we're talking about commonality and themes here, not only have these white boys given off every single red flag that would activate every red flag law, including every red flag law that was in Highland Park, not only are there clear cases of straw purchasing here with the dad, the Highland Park dude had been accosted by police on a number of occasions where he had threatened to kill everybody. But at that point, he only had knives that the dad vouched for. So this isn't something to where the gun laws failed. No, the gun laws weren't even used because, like I said earlier, those rules don't pertain to the white folks. It's backfiring on you. Your own people are getting you. Your offspring are getting you. They're just going crazy, allegedly. But what am I really hinting at? For sure, in the case of Uvalde, and suspected in this case, and in many others involving this very prominent demographic that displays this characteristic, possibly due to their culture, not only are they setting off red flag laws and still getting their guns, but in many cases, there's documentation where they've been congregating online. So let's do the quick math real quick. They've been congregating online. You know who watches online and all the activity for niggas. So you know they're watching it for them. And in all of these cases, federal law enforcement be on the scene. Police be on the scene. It's not like these guys are coming in doing quick ambush moves and getting out and before police can get there and there's a chase and there's a manhunt. No, they're sitting there standoff mode like the Hollywood bank robbers every time. There's polls out right now that white people got lower faith in all their forms of government and big business institutions and media and news at the lowest points ever. Like low, like Nixon era low faith in the media, 23% approval rating of Joe Biden, or not approval rating, but a confidence mark. How confident do you feel in your president? Very low. Congress, Supreme Court, the police, the military. This is white folks. They're not buying it no more. See, all this time, all the focus has been on how to demoralize and how to depower the niggas. You ain't even been focusing on at home. You've been exposing your hand by accident this whole time. And nobody's questioning the culture. No one's questioning what is it about this specific demographic that shoots women because they're incels. Involuntary incels or whatever they call themselves. What is it about this culture that breeds a result every time of doot, 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 doot? Dare I say it? They look and sound to me like your equivalent of our little guys in hoodies with extendos in their Glocks. And that's the point I'm trying to make to black people tonight, listening, is that one, you've been trained like a monkey, like a specific monkey. You know that monkey that you put a battery in their back and it bangs a cymbal all day? Well, you've had a battery put in your back to make you do fake pearl clutching and gasping and guffawing and, oh, look at black people, we have to do better. When if I switch out just white, if I just switch the race to white, you have to pretend like you don't really see anything specific about what's going on. You can't name their culture. You don't have the guts to really call out their culture as part of the problem that's producing this very unique result. You know better than to say that. But it's perfectly fine to blame black culture. A black culture that a lot of y'all will deny we even have 9 days out of 10 until it's time to blame us for something, right? You see, that's one of the points here that I'm making for black folks is when white folks lose even the slightest advantage, they revert to this shit. The reason why you got these people have had guns for hundreds of years. You never had mass shootings like this. You never had mass shootings like this. You could see what the issue was. You could see what the issue is. They know their system's falling apart. These people have to be placated with a fake economy, placated with all these advantages to keep them calm, to keep them docile. Because the second they don't, the second they feel like somebody's taking their jobs, or the second they feel like someone's taking their women, or the second they feel like they're not number one anymore, this is what they start to do. These mass shootings are temper tantrums against a system that's no longer giving them whatever they want. These people used to be able to own people. You know how mad they are that shit's gone? A lot of these manifestos are straight up letting you know, I'm a white supremacist. I'm mad at you other whites because we don't dominate anymore. Look how we're falling apart. Look how our society is falling apart. That's white folks saying that to white folks. White folks terrorizing white folks. These are their super predators in play. But you see how they're not being called or being referred to or being treated as super predators. This is something I want you to pay attention to. I want you to pay attention to your own psychology and why you think like that. This is going to be crucial moving forward. We need to start documenting for this season. See, this is another thing that we get hit with. White folks are very, very quick to bring up cases of black people to use as fuel for getting laws passed, to use as fuel for narratives they make. We let their cases go right by. We don't make their people famous. We don't show the double standards in our media. See, our media isn't for them. Our media is never going to reach them. Our media is never going to make anybody see the light in their community, in their society. Our media is for us. Now, how do we use this to our advantage? That should be the question whenever, we got to start switching our mindsets. Whenever you see all of this stuff happening to white society, stop looking at it like, oh my God, woe is me. The world is falling apart. You never really had a place in this world. Start looking at this as, how can I take advantage? Now, I just laid down to you everything of how bad this situation is getting. And what that does for us is it puts our opponents in a position of confusion and desperation. They're scrambling. They're scrambling to find a narrative that fits this behavior, a narrative that spins the spectacle into a direction that's beneficial to them. Because right now, things are out of control. Right now, they can't jump in front of one. Remember, we're still unraveling. We're still unraveling. And I encourage any of you listening, all of you listening, to stay on the developing story of the Uvalde shooting, because that was rapidly letting white folks know just how hard the police lying can be used on them. See, they've known for years that police are lying when they give those bullshit reports. Go back and look at Mike Brown, the police officer that killed Mike Brown. His report, he almost couldn't hold back laughter as he gave that phony report. That's how easy it's been. See, but they don't really care about that when they're benefiting from it. But now that it's being turned on them, that's terrifying to them. That those cops in Uvalde were just straight up lying. And it's all on camera. But we haven't even finished unraveling that story, and here we are with Hyde Park. They're scrambling to find a narrative that'll explain this away. As they're scrambling to find a narrative for why your gas prices are so high and why all your items cost much more and your dollar don't stretch as far. They're scrambling to find a narrative. And they're reeling. But we can't take advantage of that if we continue to have this mentality of blame blackness and shame ourselves. See, all that stuff comes from bullshit respectability politics. And I don't say that in a black feminist kind of way to just wash away black families. I'm saying that in a way of a lot of black talking points today were old white supremacist Richard Nixon goddamn talking points in the 60s. We have been infiltrated as a people. We got to come to terms with that. We've been mind controlled as a people to be very obedient to them and to see what they tell us to see, even though you know good and hell well what you see. They can't explain these crazy ass little white boys. They can't explain how they're getting guns. It's not like Illinois is Texas. It's got some of the strictest gun laws in the country. And he walked right by every one of them. See, keeping it real, they do a lot of projecting. White folks are the only ones with a race card. That's the big uno. And it's so subtle how they play it that we've been trained to pretend like we don't even see this shit no more because we don't want to get in trouble. And when something happens that doesn't fit the narrative, we just act like we don't see it. I played that clip at the beginning to show you what the energy was when people thought it was black folks. And now when it's white folks, it just gets chalked up to another ball of paper in the wastebasket. We're going to talk about assault weapons bans. Rather than what the real problem is, which is the culture of the dominant society. And you're going to continue to see more fallout as grocery stores become a little more scarce, as items become a little more scarce. And by scarce, keep in mind, scarce doesn't mean these items aren't going to be on the shelf and you're going to have bread lines. This is America. We're a capitalist society. Scarce means rare, as in more expensive. I live in a very, very white city. I'm seeing white folks out here bumming, drugged out, arguing, fighting. It's white folks. It ain't niggas. See, when you're already low, hard times come and go. But when you're used to being pampered and you got to come down one rung, that could feel like hell on earth. They're not built for this. And they're starting to realize they got a strong contingency of malcontents that don't want to conform to their version of society that they're trying to move into. The worst thing that could happen right now, which is what I suspect will happen, and I'm going to go further into this more specifically with the Democratic Party in another episode. But the worst thing that could happen right now is that Joe Biden somehow magically wins the election for re-election with his approval numbers being this low and there being that strong of an opposition to him. Because what that would do would be the final straw that makes people lose faith in the election process and in the government. That would break things. So I'm very interested to see how this election's going to go. I'm going to leave this here. I just kind of wanted to make this episode to show you guys how our mentality got to be right for this politics first. We can't be on that puppy dog shit that we do, where we say bullshit talking points to try to please and appease them. Even though we know they're not true. They don't do that with you at all. No one's talking about white culture right now for why yet another white boy does what a white boy do. Still brought in alive, by the way. On the backdrop of what's going on in Akron. You're missing opportunities to create your own narratives, to point out your own issues. Every single time there's spectacle, you have to understand how to use that spectacle to your benefit. But you can't do that if you don't see these things, because your mentality is blame yourself. Take these opportunities. Signing out.